Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast. Episode number 221, Larry here.
And Anthony here.
Anthony, the regular Anthony, I should say. Welcome back, my friend.
I like to say the real Anthony.
Well, the real Anthony, please stand up. Please stand up.
Yeah, I don't want to stand up, though, because my microphone's down here.
So. Thank you, Anthony Chu, last week. Anthony Rippo here wasn't available, so Anthony Chu filled in. So now we got Anthony Rippo back. So
yes, thank you very much, Ant, for filling in. I actually thought it a great show. You guys did a great job, and it almost felt like he could replace me permanently. Not that I'm saying it's going to happen.
Well, me and him do have history, so we did have, the chemistry was there. The band was back together for an hour.
The band was back together for an hour without me.
But you're back, and this week we have a lot in store because we have a really, really big celebration to talk about, which is one of Anthony's loves. But real quick, actually, because it literally just dawned on me, I just want to just throw out one thing real fast as far as news. We're going to call this the consoles Larry has ordered that has yet again been delayed for a longer period of time. So it was just announced recently that the Intellivision Amico will be now released sometime in the fall of 2021. Originally slated for Tax Day 2021.
Well, none of these things surprise me anymore. Isn't it? Honestly. Isn't it also right now February, as in the Polymega is supposed to be delivering in February?
End of February. Supposed to ship the end of February if we were one of the early backers.
Which is you.
Yeah, which is me. Yeah, I think I ordered it day 1 or day 2 or something like that.
Exactly. So then you should be like first in line. And I'm gonna die laughing when mine arrives before yours.
Well, if history repeats itself, that has happened, including my friend downstairs who lives 2 floors down, who ordered the TurboGrafx Mini like 6 months, ordered it when that got delayed. Remember back last year when that got delayed? And he got it before I did. And I ordered it day 1.
Didn't I get it before you too?
Everyone gets it before I do. There is something about...
I don't know what you do to make that happen.
I got to talk to Frank. I don't know. Yeah. I got to see what's going on. So
maybe he's holding it. He's holding like your mail hostage.
He really is. Jerk. But yeah, so the Amiga, and at this point, you know what? I just is what it is at this point.
Yep.
Stuff is getting delayed. I've waited long enough. We'll see. I ordered it in 2018 or maybe 2019. Right. So we'll see.
It'll get there. That's the most important thing. It will get there.
It will. But this week we're going to talk about Nintendo. And I know you're excited about this one because actually you mentioned it before we recorded. Our episode number even has like a significance, which we didn't even mean to do. It just worked itself out.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens sometimes. It's, it's just the way of the universe all coming together for our podcast.
The way of the road.
Yeah. So we are doing a very special Legend of Zelda centric episode this week to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Legend of Zelda. That is correct. Legend of Zelda is 35 years old. And the reason why Larry brought up our episode number, which is episode 221, is Legend of Zelda turned 35 on February 21st, 221. There you have it.
So it worked out in the end. Who knew?
It always works out for us. Doesn't it? Well, it works out for me. You're always delayed.
Nothing works.
We just talked about that. And then, of course, I've got my Zelda.
There you go.
This was from the concert that I went to for the 25th anniversary.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the concert shirt. So
the concert. Yeah, you said the concert was awesome, right?
The concert was great. I loved it. And if I look around here somewhere, I think I have the CD. From the concert.
The soundtrack or whatever?
Yeah, I think I have the soundtrack somewhere.
Sweet.
But not within grabbing distance. But anyway, so yeah, Legend of Zelda turns 35. If you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know that it is by far and away my favorite video game franchise of all time, even though I haven't played some of them. I just seem to go back and play the same ones. But definitely my favorite of all time. Also, one of the most iconic video game franchises in all of video game history. I mean, Absolutely. When you ask people about video games, or anybody who does game, especially with Nintendo, usually you get Super Mario, Legend of Zelda. Those are the two, I think, to me, the two widely known ones.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and not only is the franchise of Zelda, Legend of Zelda, so iconic, the games are which we're going to dip into here, but also poor Zelda and its protagonist constantly being confused to a point where I just remembered I have it's all the way over there, though I can't grab it. I have a little kind of a picture frame of Link. It's like a sad emo Link, and he's like, I'm not Zelda. So,
and that is always the controversy, that he is not Zelda. But again, we're talking about an iconic franchise that has released numerous games over every Nintendo platform from the NES.
Even before that, there was a Game and Watch. It was a Zelda Game and Watch.
There was a Game and Watch. Well, I think the Game and Watch came after.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, man, it might have.
But there was a Game and Watch. Zelda, probably one of the only Nintendo-owned franchises to jump to a third-party system very poorly on the Philips CDI.
Yep.
But outside of that, aside from that, the CDI, Zelda has always been home to Nintendo.
What, like, your first Zelda game, was it the original Zelda?
Yeah.
Not like
Absolutely.
Zelda 2? Okay.
No. I had the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. I remember starting it up and saying, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" But of course,
very true.
But of course, back then, you would read the instruction booklet before you start the game, or you would hope to read the instruction booklet. Some people, I know you
never read the instruction booklet.
I always read the instruction booklet because I was always interested in the story, and the story was in the instruction booklet. So, totally makes sense. So, and you know what, Larry, if you'll forgive me for 1 second, I'm going to get up and grab the birthday gift you gave me on my 40th birthday.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember correctly?
Yeah, sure. But let's show the world as well. As Anthony is going to grab that gift. Oh, that was quick. Yep.
That wasn't that far. So just to bring it up, the original, and thank you for this. I cherish this. So Legend of Zelda on the NES. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it right now. Larry got me pretty much a pristine copy, even though it wasn't sealed, in excellent condition.
Yeah, it was about as close as almost humanly possible.
Yep. The instruction booklet's still there. Maps and Strategies book is still there. And, of course, when I open this up, the overworld map, if I'm not mistaken.
Poster.
Oh, that's not the map. The poster.
No, the map was another piece. Yeah,
it was the other piece. So when you open it, it would come with an actual overworld map.
Look at that.
Of Zelda, of the Zelda game. But the cool thing about this also was, and again, I grabbed it for a reason, because when you go in the instruction booklet, you get the actual story. So I don't even know if this book was ever opened before. So exactly. And you know what's funny? When you try and read it, because of the map on the background, it's literally impossible to read.
I forgot it looked like that.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to read it, but I can't. So we're not going to read it like I wanted to, because that was my thought. But anyway, the original Legend of Zelda was the first one I ever played. Instantly fell in love with it. I mean, simple story. Actually, what I'll do is I'm going to read from the back of the book.
Okay.
The box.
A reading from the back of The Legend of Zelda, as told by Anthony of the Retro Gamers.
Told by me. Welcome to The Legend of Zelda, where the only sound you'll hear is your own heart pounding as you race through forests, lakes, mountains, and dungeonous mazes in an attempt to restore peace to the land of Hyrule. Along the way, you'll be challenged by Tektites, Wizrobes, and an endless array of ruthless creatures who will stop at nothing to prevent you from finding the lost fragments of the Triforce of Wisdom. But don't despair. With a little luck and a lot of courage, you'll conquer your adversaries, unite the Triforce fragments, and unravel the mystery of the Legend of Zelda.
There you go. I mean, that's a story unto itself. How are you not going to get hooked into that?
Well, exactly. And just, and again, when you were relying on, the actual boxes to sell you on a game, which is why nobody bought Mega Man in the beginning. worst box
True.
ever.
True.
That was the selling point on it. So I remember getting Legend of Zelda when I was a kid and just like, yeah, absolutely fell in love with it.
Also, a lot of times we also talked back then. Don't put that box too far away because I want you to show something on it. We
Okay.
always talked about, like you said, kind of the cover art usually
Mhm.
sold the game. It had to sell the game. So
Yep.
you're looking at that box and it's got the little cut through window. Do you
Yes.
remember like how cool you thought it was? The fact that the cart was gold.
Yeah, that was a huge selling point, and I thought it was brilliant on their part to show off the gold cartridge right there, in the box. So it just fit perfectly, especially because you have the insignia here on the
Mm-hmm.
front,
Mm-hmm.
and it just fit right into one of the rectangles. Just very, very brilliant marketing and planning on Nintendo's side.
Yeah, I always thought the gold cart was just real. I mean, as a kid, I'm like, oh, it's a gold cart. That's awesome.
Yep.
Obviously painted, but still, I'm like, this is sweet. And no, it's my earliest is also the original Zelda. Not sure how I might have come about getting it. It just might have been one of those situations. It was like a top seller, so every parent pretty much got it for their kid at some point.
Yep.
And I remember again, not because of the game itself, but I've already talked about. I'm not that crazy into role playing games. Not that this is a RPG. It's not really
Right.
an RPG,
Mm-hmm.
but the exploration I wasn't into until later. So I kind of fell in love with Zelda later on. Probably actually probably Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is
Okay.
when I really fell in. I had Zelda 1. I did not own Zelda 2. No one should. But Zelda 3, Link to the Past, is where I really fell in love with the series. And then it kind of took off there for me.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that. Again, especially because like on the NES, it's like it was a different kind of game that people weren't used to, because like a lot of the games on the NES were side scrollers. You had some RPGs and stuff like that. This was kind of an action adventure with a little bit
Totally.
of RPG to it, not a
Hmm.
lot,
No.
just a little.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just something totally new, very groundbreaking. And again, it had like a very epic feel to it, because you're left on this map and you can go wherever you want, do whatever you want to do. It literally like kind of launched the open world, video game.
In essence.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Especially,
because if you wanted to if you were wandering around and you found level 8 first, you can go into level 8 and try your hand at it and get destroyed. Or you just wandered around until you kind of built Link up as much as you could, and then you go to dungeons. Like literally, the choice was yours on what order you went in.
and Miyamoto, who created Zelda, that was basically his reasoning behind it. He would his as a kid just kind of exploring the area where he lived in Japan, and he wanted to basically transcribe that into a game, and that's where that feel is. Because remember, folks, 35 years ago there was no internet. We didn't have any, the player's choice books and everything weren't out just yet. You had the game, you had the map, which didn't tell you anything. I don't think it told you anything. The map that came with the
Well,
on the
back side, they showed you a few of the dungeon maps, but that's it. They didn't really.
but it didn't really tell you where they were.
No, they didn't tell you where to go.
So that feeling of exploration, especially because if you miss the very beginning, you're not going to have your weapon.
Yep.
And that's the whole key. And so that I think was really ingenious. In fact, as I'm talking, I remember years ago, a friend of mine was playing Zelda, the NES Zelda, for the first time. She went from like Super Nintendo on. So with me, she played Zelda for the first time. I didn't say a word, and she was going screen to screen, just walking around even before thinking about walking in to get the sword, which I just found comical.
Yeah,
but
because
it's amazing.
it's not obvious. And actually, one of the things, because I did some research before the show, obviously, to come up with like little, like I found websites with like things you may not have known about Zelda and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the when Zelda was originally made, you actually started with the sword. It wasn't in the cave and given to you. But apparently, it made people more confused as to how this world worked. So in other words, like people would just wander around and it's like, well, what do I do? I have no idea what to do.
The
actual discovery of walking into the cave and going down
Mm-hmm.
gave people the insight of like, oh, these little black squares are caves. So when I find them elsewhere, I can go in them. And so like literally they took the sword away just so people can kind of understand the dynamic.
You know, I never thought of that. Not until now. I was today years old when I kind of realized that reasoning, and that's a perfect reasoning for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Huh.
who knew? Yeah. Because otherwise you just get dropped in the game, you have a sword, and it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, no, exactly. Then you just run around not thinking there's any dungeons, and you just kill everything in sight, and you're thinking, all right, I'm doing good.
Yeah, all right, I'm killing things. And then, or I'm just dying. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So and again,
That's interesting.
it also comes back to, if you have the game, if you read the instruction booklet, it obviously tells you what to do. And for some people who don't read the instruction booklet and just want to jump into the game, Larry, you just have no idea what to do.
Wander. I did find the sword though.
You
And
did
actually,
find the sword, yes.
as we go through this today, we actually have this. Anthony sent me this link here. We have these trivia questions that we're going to be doing sporadically.
Yeah, I think I thought we can kind of do them live, like, and see how we do. Like,
Oh, you mean like all together? Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think
Okay.
we'll get to the trivia portion of the
Oh
show
no.
later.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But no, it's fine. I just thought it would be fun to kind of throw it out there and
No,
just
totally.
test our knowledge and see what everybody
We'll
thinks.
do that later. All right.
Yep. But yeah, before we get to that, just some really quick things. We used to do a thing on our show, and every once in a while we pull it out, called the Retro Spotlight, where we really dive into a game. We've already covered Legend of Zelda, so I don't want to dive into it too much. But just basic information. Again, it was first released on February 21st, 1986 on the Famicom. It's an action-adventure game. Of course, creator is Shigeru Miyamoto. The composer, Koji Kondo, also a legend in Nintendo. And for anybody who wants to know just how long, or at least how many different versions of the game, or how many different Zeldas are in the franchise, they just came out with one in November. We got Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. So this franchise is still going super strong.
I believe might have a Guinness record for the longest continually going series with constant games coming out.
Yeah, and that would make sense.
Yep.
It was after 35 years, the franchise currently consists of 27 video games, and over 52 million copies.
Wow.
Have been sold since the release of the first game, which is pretty amazing.
That's not bad at all.
No, 52 million, 27 games, 52 million. If you that's about 2 million per game if you average it out.
20
copies per game.
27 games. I wonder if that counts like kind of like the remakes and everything.
I don't think it does. Because
27 original games.
I want to say 27 original, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Let's just, I'm going to read them off.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, A Link to the Past and Four Swords Adventure, Wind Waker, Minish Cap, Twilight Princess, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Skyward Sword, Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, Breath of the Wild, and then what was the one I just said? Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and then you know what? It might include remakes as well.
All right, that's fine. Which is not a problem. Some of them are a little different enough.
Yeah, some of them. Well, actually, no, it may not. I mean, because when you add in the CDI games, Faces of Evil, Wand of Gamelon, Zelda's Adventure.
Those are 3 games no one remembers.
And then there are the spin-offs, Link's Crossbow Training, the Tingle games in Japan.
Yeah. The BS games.
Yeah, I mean you can add a whole bunch of stuff to it. But again, 27 titles, 52 million sold, really, really big deal. And again, one of the strongest things about it was the fact that it was this brand new kind of top down or 3/4 kind of look. It was really, really interesting.
Except one of them.
Except the side scroller that is Zelda 2: Adventures of Link, which I've never gotten comfortable with.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. So we get the first Zelda, right? It's a home run. It's a smash. You love it. You know, it's great. Zelda 2 comes out. So I imagine you're jumping, to get Zelda 2, and then you put that in. Now that game is basically an RPG, a role-playing game.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
how did you feel when you started playing the second one? And
Well, I'll be honest with you. I never really played through the second one, at least when it first came out. I went back and beat it years ago, but like when I first had it as a kid, I didn't like it because I was like, this is not Legend of Zelda to me. This is something different. And at that time, I also wasn't into full-on RPGs. So like the Final Fantasies and the Dragon Warriors and all that stuff, I wasn't playing. So this was really like my first foray into that, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. So I did not, as a kid, I did not play Zelda 2, or I didn't finish it. I bought it, or at least, or my parents bought it for me, and then I was just like, yeah.
I don't like.
Me no like it.
It's like spitting out the broccoli.
Well, it's like a lot of people when they got Castlevania 2 after Castlevania 1. It's like, why did you change it?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Konami and Nintendo.
Yeah, but I enjoyed Castlevania 2. So, but anyway, so Zelda 2 was always weird to me. And then, of course, they course corrected and went back to what worked. And then we got Link to the Past, which, again, arguably one of the best ones ever made.
Amazing. Like I said, depending on the day of the week, that's my number one, and it switches with another one, just depending on how I feel. And we'll get to those in a little bit. But Link to the Past, I mean, when that game was announced, like, you get the Nintendo Power, because that's how we got the news, was Nintendo Power. And they're announcing this new Zelda, this 16-bit Zelda game. And already being familiar with, like, going from Super Mario Brothers to Super Mario World, right? Like, what was do you remember your expectations? Because when I heard about this 16-bit Zelda, I'm like, I think this has a lot of promise. All right, what was I, 11? So maybe I was like, oh, cool, graphics look awesome. So, let me try and get it. But do you remember being excited for that, knowing what happened with Mario, what can now happen with Zelda if a 13-year-old you was able to process that, or 12-year-old you?
Yeah, I was super excited about it because once I saw what it was going to look like, and I knew that they went back to the original Zelda, top-down view. And then, of course, the graphics looked amazing back then, at least for us, like 16-bit graphics. And I'm like, oh, and it's like the original. Like, I definitely had high hopes for it. And then when you finally got it and you played it and you're like, holy cow, I'm like, this thing's more epic than the first one. It really is. The light world, the dark world, just going through everything. Oh, so well done.
Were you disappointed it was not a gold cartridge?
No, you know what? That didn't even resonate with me. I was just happy to have it. It really was. Yeah. Awesome.
The best thing I remember about Link to the Past was really when it was over. I think, and I hope I'm not getting this confused with Ocarina of Time, though I think Ocarina did it anyway. I think it kept track of like how many times you died in the game. And I remember when I finally beat Link to the Past, it took me 99, basically on my 100th try, I finally beat the game because I died 99 times.
Yeah. The original one did that too on NES.
Oh, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever beaten the original one.
Wow.
I'm not even going to lie. And not because of not trying. I think it's just one of those situations where I played it. Obviously, I never got to the end when I was a kid, and I just never went back to play it again.
That's fair.
But of course, I say that now. I guess I'm kind of setting myself up for another possible game here in the contest. But
yep. Well,
I know I definitely never beat it.
Well, and let me throw this at you, because one of the things that I was going to admit here, which I'm going to admit now, is I never played through the second quest on the NES Zelda. Never. I've played it, but I've never completed it.
I played it too. I remember seeing in actually Nintendo Power, you're able to, if you put your name in as Zelda, it brings you to the second quest. And it's like, wow, this is a whole new game. And I tried it. I'm like, I don't want to play this.
Yeah. Or if you beat the game, if you beat the game the regular way, you were able to go through it in the second quest.
Correct.
And then thanks, Link, for opening the door.
Link, this is your episode.
Link, this is your show.
Look, and the door, the door opens. and he walks away.
And he walks away.
If you need to shut that, go right ahead.
No, it's fine. It's just you're gonna
okay.
see light.
The light world. There you go.
There's the light world, and then my office is the dark world. So, but my question to you is for our contest: if I complete the master quest, does it count, or the second quest does it count? Because it is like a new game.
No, I know. I want to say no, but
how dare you?
Especially because you're so ahead. But I want to see you play it. I actually want to see you play. Look, folks, So years ago, when Anthony was living in New York for a short amount of time, a bunch of us went to the New York Comic-Con, when we were allowed to gather in large groups. So we went to New York Comic-Con, and
I remember when we used to do that 38 years ago.
That's what we get into. So we're waiting online, and as usual, we get there at like the crack of dawn. And I had my 3DS or my DS with me, and I had Zelda on it. And of course, we were all bored waiting in line. And Anthony's like, "Oh, let me see your DS." I'm like, "Here you go." And he saw Zelda. I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, play it. It's all right." I think you beat from start to finish. You beat Zelda while on the line waiting to get into New York Comic-Con, and it didn't take you long at all.
No, it didn't. I'm definitely not a speedrunner in Zelda.
No, it wasn't a speed run, but still.
Yeah, but because speedrunners can do the game in under 30 minutes, and I'm usually like when I'm on point with that game, I can do it in about 60 to 70.
Fair enough. I get that.
But I'm also one of those people where it's like I don't skip. Like the thing about speedrunners is they'll skip everything they need to finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
I go through the game still collecting everything. Like I want to own everything before I beat it. So I guess I'm more of a completionist that way.
I like it.
Which is always why it takes me a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I do remember doing that. I remember doing that also at Anthony Testaverde's house, in his basement, in his parents' basement. Like we were sitting there, we were watching TV or whatever, and then like they were like, I think he said it or somebody said it's like, how quickly can you get through Zelda? And I'm like, all right. I was like, so then I started it, and about 45 minutes in, I was already like done with like World 6 or World 7.
Yeah.
And he's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, you're going to beat the whole thing? And then I was like, well, if we're still going to sit here, yeah. But then we wound up leaving and doing something else. But otherwise, I was well on my way.
You know what? I guess I'll make a decree because I guess it's kind of in my court here. If you defeat the master quest of the first Zelda game, I will allow it to count towards the contest.
Yeah, baby.
So,
and then you need to beat the regular first quest.
I'll put it on. Look, I'm working on Castlevania 3 right now, and I'm not doing save states. I'm writing down those stupid codes, passwords. But I will then move over to Zelda. That I promise.
Fair enough. So. All right. We talked about Link to the Past. We gotta jump into some of the other ones.
Yes.
Because let's face it, the one that follows Link to the Past, again, arguably the best Legend of Zelda game of all time. And we're talking about Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
On the N64. Yeah. Now, I'm talking console.
I know you're talking about.
I know you could also switch over to handheld at this point because that's kind of what happened. The Game Boy started to get Zelda games. Which I didn't play because I didn't like the Game Boy.
And funny enough, we're going to get into Ocarina of Time. I just want to mention because yes, it did really shift to the Game Boy for a while, Game Boy Advance, and the DS, till it bounced back to the Wii and the Wii U and everything. And though all the games on the handhelds are fantastic, but Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, honestly, I will put up against the Super Nintendo, even N64 versions as far as game, obviously not graphics, but as far as gameplay, I will match those up head to head any day of the week with Link's Awakening. So definitely I want to take a moment to talk about Link's Awakening because first of all, the first handheld Zelda game, on the Game Boy, and the Game Boy was already out for a few years, and I always thought it was odd because we really didn't get a lot of like the mainstays from the consoles. Like Super Mario Land is cool, but it was weird compared to Super Mario Brothers. In fact, I believe it was a reskin, kind of like Super Mario Brothers 2. So we weren't getting like these proper Nintendo games. But then when Nintendo Power announced Link's Awakening, and it looked like a Zelda game on Game Boy, and you're like, all right, this is going to be awesome. But then you're like, the Game Boy, though, it's kind of designed for quick gameplay, and this is going to be a dragged out game. Um, but when you're playing on the Game Boy, you kind of forgot about that as long as you got the right light
Mm-hmm.
on, so you can see it.
Always come down to
Um,
that.
I and even before the Super Game Boy, um, Link's Awakening is probably the second Zelda game I really deep dove into after Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
And Link's Awakening really did open up, like, as far as some new mechanics with the trading system that you see a lot as well now, where you pick something up here to give something there and just kind of keep trading through.
Yep.
And of course, it takes you out of Hyrule. You're in, I can never pronounce the city's name, Kokolis or whatever it is.
Kokiri?
Kokiri, something like
Kokiri
that. Yeah.
Forest?
No, no.
Oh.
No, not that. It's, oh, of course now.
Kahlua?
Yeah. Basically, right?
Bunch of drunks in Zelda.
Koholint. That's what it is. Koholint Island.
Mhm.
Koholint Island. But nevertheless, it takes you out of the mainstay. Like, Zelda's not really a part of it. You're collecting all these instruments to wake up the big giant whale and everything.
Welcome back, Link.
So, but Link's Awakening showed also that the Game Boy had a lot of power to it, that it can match up the Game Boy to a home console, in my opinion. So, even though you were on the road and it was in, pea soup green, it still was going to match up. And then later they came out with Link's Awakening DX when the Game Boy Color came out. And then, of course, Link's Awakening remake that we got on the Switch. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But,
which I still have to finish, by the way.
Oh, you still haven't finished it yet? Oh, no, that's a good one. But if you can go back and play the original Link's Awakening on a Super Game Boy, or if you download it on the 3DS, whatever, totally worth it. And it just adds to the legacy of this already amazing series.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that the games on there were amazing. I did start Oracle of Ages, and I'm still working on that, obviously. It's been a while. But my problem was always just the screen was too small for me. I just couldn't do it. So now today I'll play them all. I'll happily play them all, like on my Switch or whatever on a bigger screen. Perfectly happy with that.
Well, you have a Super Game Boy. You got your Retro Freak.
I have my Retro Freak. I have a Super. I don't have a.
You don't have a Super Game Boy. I don't know why you never got. I still think you should.
To be honest with you, I don't understand why I never got it either. But the Retro Freak will take care of that for me.
Or
and there we go.
Yeah, he took off. He's off to find another adventure.
He just ran off like a pony.
Or you can purchase, as I just did, the new Hyperkin Retron SP, which is the Hyperkin home console that will play Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Well, considering the fact that my Retro Freak does the job for me.
True. I'm just saying.
I don't really need another one.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So getting back to Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Now, Ocarina of Time, again, Nintendo 64 introduces us to a 3D environment. And again, Mario 64 was mind-boggling to us when it first came out with the console. But then Ocarina of Time comes out like I think a year and a half later. It was like 98, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
When it came out. And holy hell, did that game blow my mind when I saw it. I mean, just when you thought like, okay, what are they going to do to make a Zelda game great? They put it in 3D, but not only that, but they made the overall adventure in the game so incredibly epic.
Yep.
From when you play as young Link to when you go to the Temple of Time, you get the Master Sword, you become an adult, the whole idea behind time travel, just absolutely amazing.
Again, it's another situation where, like I said, going from the Nintendo to Super Nintendo to see what they did with Mario, kind of like how you felt they were going to do with Zelda, going from the Super Nintendo to the N64, what they did with Mario, you're wondering, what are they going to do with Zelda? And again, like you said, it worked. This basically not completely, but this open world, in essence, giving you free range on a whole new literal aspect of how the game is. Yeah, it was amazing what was done with Ocarina of Time. Introducing time travel, like you said.
Yep.
Not only that, but introducing apparently an instrument that's been around for thousands and thousands of years that no one ever heard of until this game came out.
Yeah, basically the ocarina, the game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, put the ocarina on the map in
Yeah,
mainstream culture, basically.
like when I first realized that it was an actual flute, I'm like, no, Nintendo just created it. It's nothing, but no, it's an
Yeah.
actual instrument.
Yeah. And they introduced a bunch, obviously the whole idea of playing songs on it that made things happen in the game was amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. If you knew how to whistle better.
I was
Um,
I didn't want to
yeah.
overblast the thing here, so
Well, and not only that, introducing Ganon by his full first name,
Ganondorf.
Ganondorf. So which I always found
Done.
interesting because I always wanted to just call him Ganon because to me Ganon sounded cooler and darker
Yeah,
than
right.
Ganondorf. but Ganondorf is his name, and not only
Ganondorf,
that,
though, yeah,
Ganondorf is his first name. He has a last name.
Ganondorf, kind of like Mario.
Yes, that's exactly it. Ganondorf. But introducing him as Ganondorf, again, same story. Gotta rescue Zelda, but you're rescuing all of time now.
Yes.
Which was really cool.
Now, at what point is it? Maybe in this part of the series, like, do you start questioning whether or not it's the same Link from all these games? Because later on, we realize it's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's actually because of the chronology of the events that transpire. Obviously, one Link could not live long enough to do all this unless he was traveling through time and all of these, which he's not. So it's just Link and his ancestors, kind of like the way Castlevania's got the Belmont ancestors. True. It's similar to that. And to be honest with you, I think the only time I think it was Wind Waker that made me realize that, because I think Wind Waker, when you're sitting on the island and everything like that, I think they actually reveal that you are like an ancestor of this ancient warrior or whatever. So that was the first time I was like, oh, it's not the same Link. Yeah. So
interesting.
And then again, Ocarina of Time, if you haven't played it, and you're a gamer, you owe it to yourself to at least try it. It's one of the most monumental games you'll ever play. It was followed by Majora's Mask, which again was one of those you love it or hate it kind of games. I personally loved it. I just thought they took everything in Ocarina of Time and literally turned it on its head. It went from this epic open world adventure through time to reliving the same 3 days over and over again.
Groundhog Day in Hyrule.
Yeah, it was basically it was a 3-day Groundhog Day in Hyrule. Not Hyrule. It wasn't in Hyrule. It was a town. It was a town called Termina.
True. And that's what I didn't like about it. I'm on the side of I hate it. I mean, like I don't like. I get where the game is, and I respect the game if you can understand that. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it because that 3-day window thing, it just didn't work for me. But which stinks because when I got it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be because Ocarina of Time, phenomenal. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this again. What are these masks? Why is there a moon growling at me with a nasty face on it? And what is happening? So
basically the end of the world.
I gotta say, Majora's Mask was probably, because again, not being so young when Zelda 2 came out, I'm not really gonna say how I felt about it, but being in college when Majora's Mask came out, for me, Majora's Mask was the first, I don't want to say dud, but for me it was the first like, all right, maybe this is starting to wane a little bit. And like, have you gotten that with any of the games that you've played? Like, is there one that's on the bottom of your list?
Well, Zelda 2 would be at the bottom of my list. Yeah, definitely Zelda 2.
Well, the first time that you played one and you were like, this isn't really the same as all the other ones.
No, actually, I haven't really run into that. I mean, Zelda 2 was the first one to do that to me, and probably the only one. The one that I had the most hesitation towards is the one we're going to talk about next, which came after Majora's Mask on console, and that was Wind Waker. Because you remember the controversy? Oh my God! The minute they started, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if you thought the original Sonic in the original trailer got people upset, man, you should have been around when they announced what Wind Waker was gonna look like.
Yeah, so Wind Waker came out. Let's see, Wind Waker came out in 2002.
Oh, okay.
Came out in 2002, but when they started revealing images of it as a preview, everybody was up in arms because it was got like the 3D world that they had created on the N64 was completely gone for this very cell shaded, animated kind of look to it. It was very, very different, completely opposite of everything we were used to. And you know, and Nintendo being Nintendo is like, we're going a different direction. You're going to go with it with us, whether you like it or not.
Them and Apple are on the same.
Yeah, they pretty much are. So immediately, like, they got so much flack from gamers. Gamers were up in arms. They're like, how can you make a Zelda game look like this? It doesn't look like the rest of them. This is going to be garbage. Of course, obviously nobody had played it at that point.
Yeah, of course.
This was all based on, you know, basically what happens on the internet today when something gets announced. You rip it apart before you even get it.
As you do.
So, right. But then Wind Waker comes out. Absolutely amazing. Like, that game was so much fun. So much fun. Also includes one of the most reviled temples in all of Zelda history, the Water Temple, which everybody hated going to. It was like its own video game. It was so annoyingly hard.
I get it.
It really was.
If
you want to get if you want to get like a badge of honor for playing a Zelda game, get through the Water Temple in Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. I remember seeing again those cell shaded, and I'm like, this looks like a kid's game. And again, you know, I'm like, I'm in college, and I'm like, I don't really want to play something like that. You know, I ordered the GameCube, so I got the GameCube. It's in my dorm, but it took me a while to get Wind Waker, to actually buy it. No, that's a lie. I bought it day of, but for a completely different reason.
Oh, what was your reason?
Which I think maybe I wonder why, if they did this to get people, because so much backlash. You're like, I don't think people are going to buy Wind Waker. Do you remember the pre-order bonus for Wind Waker on the Switch?
Yes, because I bought it.
Exactly. Like, you bought it separately, or you got it?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I pre-ordered it to make sure I got it.
Yep. There were two. I'm trying to think.
I have both.
No, I know. I'm trying to think if they were both together or they were separate pre-orders. Now that I think about it.
I think one of them might have been separate.
But what we're talking about is at you know what? Give me a few seconds. I'll let you go. Are you near yours, or you want me to grab mine?
You can grab yours, because I'm about to talk about. I'm trying to find it online. But yeah, so the really cool thing about Wind Waker, and this could also be one of the reasons why this happened, because of the negative response they were getting from gamers about Wind Waker and the way that it looked and everything like that. I'm sure Nintendo was worried about what the sales numbers were going to be. So it's very possible that this is the reason why they included it, and Larry is going to explain exactly what they included.
I don't know how far you got into that, so
I did not reveal it.
So okay, so I'm trying to see. Does it say on the back what they were pre?
But what I was basically saying, Larry, was that they may have done this after they were getting all the negative reception.
No, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so I don't remember which is which, so someone call me out. But the first one, which I think was with the pre-order for Wind Waker, you got the Legend of Zelda promotional disc history. And what this did, this was probably the first time we got a sense of a virtual console that we now know and love today. On this GameCube disc, which was free with purchase of Wind Waker, you got the original Legend of Zelda, Legend of Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. You got basically the 4 games before this one.
Yeah. The only one that was missing was Link to the Past.
True, yeah. So you got these 4 games on one disc for the GameCube, and I remember getting this. I'm like, this is awesome, because, again, at that time, no one... Like, I kind of moved my Nintendo away when I got new systems. Like, the idea of retro, the idea of holding on to these games, it was just very, very, like, just seeds in people's minds. But this, I mean, this thing is freaking awesome.
It is amazing.
I remember playing it.
Yeah, and then there was another one if you did a pre-order. Do you have that one?
Yes, I do. The other one, because also the other one had sneak peek of a bunch of other games that were coming out for the you know what, this one I think was a pre-order for Four Swords Adventure, that came out later on the
Possibly.
GameCube. So this is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time bonus, basically the Master Quest.
Yep.
Well, actually, it says Master Quest on GameCube. So, all right, this has Ocarina of Time as well. But this Master Quest was, as it says, never before released.
Yeah.
This
now,
was, yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say, this Master Quest was going to be on the 64 disk drive.
Yes, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. What I was going to say is I'm just reading up on this.
Okay.
And apparently that version, it was made available to existing GameCube owners who either registered their system or subscribed to Nintendo Power.
Oh, that's how I got it. Man, I've gotten a lot of games through Nintendo Power.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's how I got it too. And I think it was I registered my system because I didn't have Nintendo Power.
You know, I don't think I've looked through this thing in a while. There's this whole special preview of Wind Waker as well that came with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, the bonus discs on that were amazing. But again, just to go back and talk about, Wind Waker, absolutely amazing game, despite the graphics. I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't even want to say despite the graphics because I thought the graphics were fantastic. Like when you finally play the game, yeah, it was cel shaded and all that stuff, but it was still an amazing ride.
Oh, totally, really literally.
Right on the boat. And then after Wind Waker, this is where I fell off for a while.
Okay.
Because after Wind Waker, PlayStation 2 comes out. Xbox comes out. All of a sudden, these are starting to get more attention than Nintendo. Then the Wii, the Wii comes out, and I never bought a Wii because I didn't like the idea of motion censored in the living room. Now I play VR. But at the time, I was like, I don't want to stand in my living room and play a game. But anyway, there was the first crossover game that covered like 2 consoles because the GameCube was on the way out and the Wii was coming in. So they released Twilight Princess, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on both consoles because they wanted to make sure you would buy the Wii. Now, this is where I fell off the map. I've yet to play. I played Twilight Princess for like 30 minutes worth. And I forget if I have it on my, I have it on one of my systems. I don't remember which one. But I played a little Twilight. I played only very little Twilight Princess. And then on the Wii, you got Skyward Sword, which I also never played because I did not have a Wii.
Okay.
And now recently Nintendo Direct last week, announced that they will be releasing Skyward Sword on the Switch.
Yes, HD.
Yep, HD, which I will be buying because I want to play through Skyward Sword. And I also want to go back and play through Twilight Princess.
And it's pretty interesting because that's what they've been doing. Like, Wind Waker came out on GameCube. Wind Waker HD came out on Wii. Twilight Princess came out on Wii. Twilight Princess HD came out on the Wii U. Skyward Sword actually came out on the Wii U. Now Skyward Sword HD is coming. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess both came out on dual systems.
I don't remember Skyward Sword.
I could have sworn Skyward Sword came out on Wii and Wii U.
I don't think it was on the Wii U.
Definitely Twilight Princess did, like you said. It came out on the GameCube and the Wii.
Oh, it was released digitally on the Wii U eShop.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They never released it.
No, you're okay. I got you. Yeah. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I mean,
but what's worth buying, I think I've mentioned this a long time ago. It's worth buying Twilight Princess on both the Wii and the GameCube because the map is literally flipped, where everything kind of runs in a clockwise motion, I believe, on one system. Everything kind of runs counterclockwise on the other.
Yeah.
So you get like a mirror feel to the game, which I thought was pretty cool. Yep. But all these HD remakes and everything. It's going to be interesting to see how the Switch handles Skyward Sword. And of course, I know everyone's very upset that was the only Zelda announcement during the Direct, but is what it is.
Well, that's because everybody's waiting to hear about the sequel to the last major console game to come out, which was Breath of the Wild on the Switch, also on the Wii U. Breath of the Wild was released on the Wii U as well.
Oh, that's right, it was. Yes,
it was.
I wonder if that also goes. Maybe that's the one I was thinking of then.
Potentially, it was released on both. I bought it on the Switch, obviously, but and that game again, it's like I can argue that is the best game in the franchise.
I gotta go back and really,
give
some time to it.
That is the ultimate open world as well, where it's like if you want to go fight Ganon, you can go ahead to the temple and fight him, or the
Hmm.
castle. And not only that, Breath of the Wild is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
So, um, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, that game is worth every minute that I put into it, and I put in a lot of minutes. It really
Yeah,
is.
I never beat that. So
I highly recommend you go back to it. Yeah, I mean, it took open world to a whole new level. I mean, it really did. There were so many things to do in there. I mean, I think like I said, by the time I had completed everything, including the DLC, I think I had put in about 110 hours.
that's a lot. And
That's
here
a
we are
lot.
talking about Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla being a long
Right.
time.
Well, I mean, in my defense at the time, I mean, I also was traveling a lot, so I played
This
it
is
a lot
true.
on planes.
This is very true.
Although if I had it here, I probably would have put all the hours in anyway. So it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, like, Breath of the Wild, absolutely amazing. And that's all of the consoles and a little bit of the handhelds. Like we said, Larry was more the handheld one. Oracle of Ages, I've been enjoying, and I have Oracle of Seasons that I need to get to.
Yes. Fun fact actually about Oracle Ages and Seasons, I didn't realize until I was looking into some of these games here. There was so Ages and Season are the next games on the Game Boy series. Um, for the Game Boy Color. And what happens is they actually work in tandem. So you can do them in any order you want. But when you beat one game, you get a code that you then put into the other game, and then you basically continue the story. And
Mm-hmm.
once you play through both games, then you get the true ending and how everything goes about. During development, though, there was going to be a third game. So it was actually going to be three games, I guess, almost like a Triforce, if you will. But I guess, which again, you can play out of order, but I guess that was a little too daunting for the Game Boy Color. So, like, you know what, let's drop one of them. And I don't know what the third one was supposed to be, but they basically kept then Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. Both great games. Both games developed by Capcom, which is very interesting because Capcom, for a few games, developed Zelda games. So, Ant, you were saying how, Zelda went to the CDI for a little while. It's kind of weird to start up a Zelda game and see the Capcom logo.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But at least on Capcom's side, they were well known. They know how to make good
Yes.
games, and on top of it, I'm sure after the mess that was the CDI, Nintendo watched them like a hawk. So
Probably, yeah. Absolutely.
made sure they did not screw that up.
And then now I own one of them. I own Seasons. I got Ages on the 3DS Virtual Console, but for me on the handheld after Link's Awakening, I ended up deep diving into the Minish Cap, which was the first Game Boy
Yes.
Advance version, which you can actually get on the Wii U right now. That again, I highly recommend. Game was phenomenal. Kind of like how Super Mario Odyssey, had
Yes.
Cappy. You have Elton Eslo was your talking cap on your head during Zelda in this one. And the idea of this game was you were shrunk down, hence the Minish cap. So like all these familiar, just regular bosses, not bosses, regular enemies in the game
Hmm.
ended up being like level bosses because now they're huge compared to you. So I like that idea of we've dealt with time travel, right? We
Hmm.
dealt with light world versus dark world. Now we're dealing with miniature size.
Yep.
So again, and we've also dealt with season changing. So Zelda now is becoming this, like, there's always like two games in one because you always have like an A side and a B side,
Yes.
which again would expand a little later on. Um, After that, Zelda dips into the DS era with Phantom Hourglass, which
Hmm.
is a direct sequel to the Wind Waker. Phantom
Which I
Hourglass.
really need to go back and play since I love Wind Waker.
Phantom Hourglass. I wasn't that crazy about Wind Waker overall. Again,
Hmm.
that's just me being me. Don't get me wrong.
No, that's you.
So I didn't get into Phantom Hourglass. The gameplay was cool because of the touchscreen. That's what really made it innovative. Being able to travel around, especially in the boat and everything, made life a little easier. They had some mini games that you had to scroll across the touchscreen with. Um, But then that was followed with Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, which came out in '09, which again, part of that same Wind Waker series, except instead of a boat, now you're on a train. So now I'm like, all right, now this is turning into a train simulator. So this is when I started kind of waning a little bit on the handheld Zelda games.
Gotcha.
Until the direct, spiritual sequel to Link to the Past came out, which was Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
Yes.
This game took advantage of the 3DS. And again, it is set in the same world, a spiritual successor to the Super Nintendo game. And this game was phenomenal. Everything you loved about the Super Nintendo game, you will love about this 3DS game, A Link Between Worlds.
Yes, and you had given it to me at one point. I believe I have a copy of it on a Super Nintendo cartridge of A Link Between Worlds.
Is it on there?
You bought it for me.
I don't remember. There's been a few ROMs and hacks that I've bought.
Yeah, you had bought it for me as, I think, a home. Yeah, like a hack. Hold on, I'm going to look for it.
Oh, no. I think it was something different.
Was it?
Yes.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Let's see.
Because it would be hard to...
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Parallel Worlds.
Yes, Parallel Worlds, which is a ROM version, which I heard is a good version. So if you haven't played that, definitely play that. That will not count towards the contest.
No, it won't.
But A Link Between Worlds, though, is amazing. And all these games have gotten critical acclaims. Don't get me wrong. There really hasn't been a Zelda game that's been widely panned that wasn't some just like quick launch or something like that.
No, not at all. Like none of them really get hit. The ones that get hit are kind of the more spin-offy ones. Like,
exactly.
Like Hyrule Warriors isn't the best rated game, but every core Zelda game has gotten amazing. Even back then, Zelda 2 Adventures of Link got a great review.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, because if you go back and play it now, it's not as bad. It's not, because you're used to games like that now. It's just...
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get used
in
to
terms of, as a sequel to the Legend of Zelda on NES, it was weird at the time. So.
But I want to mention with A Link Between Worlds, it had this cool game mechanic of being able to, again, it takes advantage of the 3D system. So what happens is you become like a 2D, you can jump into paintings and become 2D, which then lets you go between the two. Instead of like Light World and Dark World, it's Hyrule and Low Rule.
Oh, nice.
So, and like you become this 2D painting and you can like walk on, like you become the wall, like you're walking along the wall, you know what I mean, as like a 2D painting.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It was pretty cool. It also had, which was the only time this happened, and I still can't figure out, I can see why they did it, and I wasn't crazy about it. It kind of worked. Instead of finding, so a lot of the other part of Zelda games, and you know, I think you can agree with me on this, not only the gameplay itself, but finding all those sub weapons.
Yes.
Like going into each dungeon and you find the boomerang, you find the
hook
arrows.
shot.
Exactly. All that stuff, right?
The mirror, yeah.
Being able
like
to find
every item.
In this game, A Link Between Worlds, they're all available from the start. You just rent them.
Oh, that's interesting.
They're like on loan. Yeah. It's a little weird. So if you lose it, so you have the ability to lose the weapon, but if you have enough rupees, you can go back and basically rebuy it.
Rent it again.
Or rent it again. And I think it's been a while since I played the game, but I think at times you have to trade up or trade back some weapons to get others. So
Makes
interesting.
Sense.
Different spin on it. It didn't ruin anything. It was just like, all right. You know, I could have done without it, but I can survive.
All right. Fair enough.
One more game that I want to mention that I did love, because Nintendo, like we said before, Nintendo's always trying to be innovative and always trying to think outside the box. Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventures.
I loved
on the GameCube.
Four Swords Adventures. Yes.
All right, you loved it. Did you have a Game Boy?
No.
Okay, so Four Swords Adventure is basically, it's this whole other story. There's like 3 or 4 different storylines with all these games and everything. So it started as a mini game, a multiplayer mini game on the Game Boy Advance. It turned into a GameCube game where technically you can have up to 4 people play all different links and you work together. It's not a long game, but it's a fun game. But the cool thing about it is really the way to play it is everyone has a Game Boy Advance, because you can hook up the Game Boy Advance to the GameCube as a controller. That's how I played the Game Boy Player with the Game Boy games on it. I would use that. But in Four Swords Adventure, even in one player mode, when you're controlling the game, when you go into a dungeon, or not a dungeon, but if you go into like a cave, then it goes from the TV screen to the Game Boy Advance screen.
Mm-hmm.
So especially if you had multiplayer, everyone can be on their own. Not that you're working against each other, but then you have your own little mini screen. And I always thought that was awesome to play with. Just a fun factor.
Yeah, and I never played that, obviously, in that sense.
It was set up on screen. Yeah.
I played it on the big screen on my own, where you can still play it as one player.
No, yeah.
You would just alternate. You would switch to the different links.
Correct.
And you moved all 4 links separately.
Correct. I did the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I did the exact same thing. But it was just cool to have the Game Boy Advance with that.
Yeah, it was super fun.
And then, of course, like Ann said, we're Breath of the Wild, the most recent new game in the series. They announced Skyward Sword. Bugging me, though, here's what bugging me about Skyward Sword HD. And apparently it started with Twilight Princess. So Skyward Sword for the Switch will have motion control. It will have regular control as well. Yeah. But you can use... Are you going to get those new Joy-Cons? You got to get the new Joy-Cons.
They look really tempting.
So what happens is the right Joy-Con will control the sword. The left Joy-Con will control the shield. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me why that bugs me?
Because Link is left-handed.
Exactly. Apparently up until Twilight Princess.
Yes.
And as a lefty, I'm like, wait a minute. Come on now. I feel like
Well, I'm going to go back to an earlier point that you said. At a certain point, we learned that in every game, it's not the same Link. So over the course of time, the different ancestors, some became right-handed.
Damn you and your thought process.
I can ruin anything you throw.
Oh, you do. God, I have a whole destroyed system still in the back room.
Yes, a system that never got a Zelda game. But I do agree with you on that sense, where it's like, to me, it's also weird that, like, that's one of those little nuances I would have left alone. Like, Link should always be left-handed. But when you're playing the game, like, I wonder, like, when it comes out, you know how some games with motion control, you can flip it?
Yeah.
I'm assuming in the options, you'll be able to flip it to left-handed mode. Because for people who are naturally left-handed, you're going to want the sword to be in your left hand.
The world is designed for right-handed people anyway, so I get it. Don't get me wrong.
Very true.
But Zelda, what else can really be said about Zelda that hasn't been said? The music is absolutely top-notch.
The music is one of the most iconic themes that you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
And then in a quick did you know thing,
let's do it. Yeah.
Because I did look up a bunch of stuff, and I just thought that this is a good one to know.
Look, I think people already realize this is a supersized episode, a little longer than usual, so let's just go with all of it.
We'll roll with it. So that's one of the things in the little secrets of Did You Know? The original theme for Zelda was going to be based off of the song Bolero, but Nintendo could not get the rights to it.
Bolero.
So,
okay.
Yeah. You'd know it if you heard it.
Okay.
But as a result of that, then Koji Kondo created something original, and that's what we have as the theme today. So originally it was actually supposed to be a licensed theme. So a few other things that, just again, I'm just going to shout out some random stuff that you may or may not know about Legend of Zelda. The original prototype NES cartridge of the Legend of Zelda is worth, or just recently sold on eBay for $150,000.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there's one bit.
Yeah.
The first Zelda game. Now, you know how we talked about the chronology of these games, right?
Oh, please. Yep.
And the whole thing about the Zelda chronology is that because it plays with time, the games all split off into 3 different paths. You have one linear path leading up to, and actually, if you have the Hyrule Historia book, which I have here.
Anthony's cheating.
And I've used this before. Yeah, because I can't remember anything. So when Ocarina of Time happens, the timeline splits, because that's the first game where time travel happens. Right?
Yeah.
And then you go into one of 3 paths. One is when Link is defeated, and then you go into the decline of Hyrule. One is when Link is triumphant, and then you enter the adult era. And then one is when Link is also triumphant, but Ganondorf gets sealed away. And then you go into that timeline. And then, so on one of the timelines, and this is the timeline where Link is unsuccessful in Ocarina of Time, that's where the original Legend of Zelda on the NES falls. Because the Legend of Zelda and Legend of Zelda 2 Adventures of Link on the NES were the first two games to come out, but they're actually the last two games in the timeline.
Oh, really?
Yes. They're the last two games in the timeline after Hyrule declines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So you spin off, that timeline spins off to after if you're unsuccessful in Ocarina of Time, right? This is the timeline. It goes to A Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, Link's Awakening, and then you get to The Legend of Zelda and The Adventures of Link.
It's funny how a lot of the handheld games kind of find their way in there, you know?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, apparently Oracle of Ages and Seasons, the reason why they fall in there and Link to the Past is because Ganon gets resurrected.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So, yeah. So the first two games on the NES were actually the last two games in the overall series. Larry just said this before. Link is normally left-handed. Twilight Princess is when he became right-handed because of the Wii remote.
Yes.
But if you buy the GameCube version, which I have, he's left-handed.
There you go. So
there you have it. The original theme was Ravel's Bolero, which I talked about today already. Zelda actually got her name from somewhere. Did you know this?
Oh, no.
The wife of the author of Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Sounds familiar.
His name, it's a book, Larry.
Oh.
The book Great Gatsby, right? The author.
Yeah.
Okay. The author was F. Scott Fitzgerald.
No, I meant what you're about to say sounds familiar.
Okay.
I know what the Greek.
Jesus. His wife's name was Zelda, and that's who inspired the name Princess Zelda.
Gotcha.
There we go. All right. One of the original ideas from Shigeru Miyamoto, he actually used the Indiana Jones movies as inspiration for Legend of Zelda because he wanted to bring that sense of adventure to a video game.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
This one's really cool, and I knew this before I read it on the list. Breath of the Wild, this big, massive 3D adventure on the Switch, was originally play tested as an 8-bit game. So there is an 8-bit Breath of the Wild game out there that Nintendo created just to play test its way through.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yep.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
So there is a prototype of that. Another bit of news in the celebrity world. Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams, named his daughter after Princess Zelda.
Yep.
And he also expressed interest. He had told Nintendo that should they ever make a live action film or a film with them in it, he wanted to voice Ganondorf.
Oh, that would
which would have been really cool.
That would have been weird.
Something else you may not have known, in the 1990s, in Japan, they actually got a 16-bit remake of the original Legend of Zelda game on the Satellaview.
Yes, that's one of the BS games.
Yes.
What they call BS. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Which is really cool.
That I think you have a copy of.
I believe I do somewhere. Link, the look that Link has in the video games, Shigeru Miyamoto has said in interviews that they actually turned to Peter Pan for inspiration for his look, which makes sense if you look at him.
Totally. Yeah.
If you look at him, totally makes sense with the green and everything. The Ocarina of Time was originally created, or was originally thought to be created as a first-person game.
Ooh.
Yep.
That would have been tough.
They floated the idea around, but they thought that gamers would be uncomfortable not seeing Link in the Legend of Zelda game.
That's what immediately came to mind. Yeah.
Yep. Another thing, the original Zelda in Japan, we know this, Larry, because we have based on the Famicom. Mm-hmm. The original Zelda in Japan actually used a microphone for part of it.
Yes.
Because on the Famicom, there's a microphone on the controller, and one of the enemies that you killed in the game, you actually sang into the controller, basically.
Basically, or just scream into it. In fact, if you have long story short, if you're able to download the Japanese NES collection on the Switch, that will have the Japanese version of Zelda. And if you ordered the Famicom controllers, the special edition controllers for the Switch, it will have the microphone in there, and you would have to scream into it to kill the not the likes. I forgot what it was. The rabbit-looking things.
I think they're called the pole.
Yes.
The poles.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Okay. Another bit here. Now, on the Famicom, you remember there was a Famicom disk drive, right? Okay. Originally, for The Legend of Zelda, it was going to launch on the disk drive with the intention of you to actually be able to craft your own dungeons. They were going to put a dungeon crafter in there.
Well, it took them 30-something years, as you can do that in Link's Awakening, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. But originally, it was going to be on the very first Legend of Zelda game.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
So another thing here, young Link, right, in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the voice provided to young Link was actually a woman.
Okay, it makes sense. Which happens a lot in animation, actually.
Oh, it always happens a lot in animation. Have you ever found the super secret bonus room in Link to the Past?
The super secret bonus room?
There is a super secret...
Go ahead.
It's a super secret bonus room that's loaded with blue rupees on a blue carpet.
I was going to say, is it that room? Yes, I found that.
Yeah, and there's a little note on the wall that when you press on it, it says, "My name is Chris Houlihan. This is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay?"
Yep. He was a contest winner.
He was a contest winner in Nintendo Power Magazine.
Yep.
And now we talked earlier about time travel in the Ocarina of Time, right? However, according to Shigeru Miyamoto, time travel was actually supposed to appear in the original Legend of Zelda game. The idea was that the Triforce was going to be traveling between the future and the past. That's why Link got his name Link, because he was originally supposed to be a link between the past and the future. Of course, they got
Super Nintendo.
Exactly. Now they went through it without the time travel, but to Larry's point, we still got that.
It's always funny. There's always like everything they wanted to do on the NES ended up on Super. Yoshi was supposed to be in the first Super Mario Brothers, and it took Super Mario World to get him in there. So that's pretty interesting.
Right. And then Super Mario 64 was supposed to have Luigi in it because they found the coding in there, but they didn't wind up releasing him in the game.
Very true.
Okay. Link's Awakening, one that you've played and loved, was originally inspired by the television show Twin Peaks.
Yes. I'm looking this up here. I was going to save that one for you because I know you're a Twin Peaks fan.
I love Twin Peaks. It's so weird, so creepy.
And I guess I never watched Twin Peaks, but I know about it. And I kind of have that feeling when you play through Link's Awakening.
Yeah. So you can play through Twin Peaks, and the original creator of it, Takashi Tezuka, said the drama was all about a small number of characters in a small town, which is what Twin Peaks was.
Yep.
So that's how we built Link's Awakening. I said this earlier about Link almost having a sword from the start. Early versions of the game had Link starting the game with the sword already in his inventory, but when game testers reported confusion over what to do in the game, Miyamoto responded by taking away the sword so that you can learn how to proceed in the game.
Yeah.
Also a cool thing.
That old man just handing out sharp objects to children. Yeah.
The Japanese version of The Legend of Zelda was not just called The Legend of Zelda. Did you know that?
Oh, I think so, because I have the box. Yeah.
Yes, because I got it for you in Japan.
Hyrule Stories or something?
It's The Legend of Zelda, the Hyrule Fantasy.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yep. Also, did you know, Yoshi appeared in Majora's Mask?
Yes, that I know. Yep.
The Happy Mask dude has a mask of Yoshi in his wallet. in Majora's Mask. He's just a weird guy. This one I did not know, and I found it really interesting. In the Japanese version of Final Fantasy, right?
Okay.
There's a grave you can visit that belongs to Link.
Ooh, creepy.
They changed it in the US version to Edric, who is the Dragon Warrior hero.
Oh.
But in Japan, if you go to that grave, it says, "Here lies Link."
Oh, wow. That's weird.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Huh.
Let's see. What other ones do I want to share? So you had talked about the whole idea of the reason why Miyamoto created Legend of Zelda, because in his childhood, he used to walk around like the woods and stuff like that, and it kind of inspired him. Now, he grew up in Kyoto, in Japan. If you look in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule was designed to be the same size as Kyoto, the entire town of Kyoto.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kyoto. And if you overlap the maps of Hyrule and Kyoto, they match.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
That's it for a lot of those. Let's see if I get. Yeah, I think that was. I have a whole bunch of other ones, but they would take forever. This is an interesting one on original Legend of Zelda. Really quickly, there was a save feature in the game that we didn't know about. I learned this today. Because what would happen in Zelda is you would get to, the way that you would save is you would die.
Yeah.
You lose all your, and you would get to a point where, like, I can't tell you how many times I would get to a point where
true. Yeah. Yep.
I didn't want to play anymore, so I would kill myself and then save.
Yep.
Little did I know there was a way to save without doing that.
Is it hitting the reset button?
No.
Oh, okay.
So here's what happens. You go to your inventory screen.
Okay.
Then with the second controller plugged in, press up and A. Or up and A. Sorry.
Why is that so difficult?
This will take you to a secret screen allowing you to save whenever you want.
Is that in the manual?
It might be. But it's one of those things where it's like, I don't remember ever learning that.
No, you're right. Whenever I wanted to save, I would just have to kill myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, isn't it crazy?
That's insane.
These couple other things. The second quest in Zelda, 5 of the world maps spell out the name Zelda.
Oh, yes, that I knew. Yeah.
That I knew. But did you know this? You can for the first quest, all of the maps link together like a puzzle piece, like a giant puzzle.
Oh, that I didn't realize.
Yeah, you can actually put them all together. And the reason why they did that was to save space. It was easier to code it if they all fit together, and then they just separated them, I guess. So you can actually, if you go online, you can actually see all the maps fit in together in one big piece, all 9 worlds, all 9 dungeons, which is kind of cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong. One of the dungeons is shaped differently in Japan.
I believe that is correct. I don't
with
remember
a certain symbol that means peace and unity in Japan.
Yes.
Someone else took and used it for a completely different reason.
That is correct. And we still have that map. They just turned it. Yeah, it's World 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's World 3. They just turned it so that it didn't look exactly.
It looked like a swastika, which again, in Japan, meant peace and unity, and Hitler took it and used it for his own horrible ways. But yeah, when it came over here, Nintendo's like, nope, we got to do something about this. Exactly. 90-degree angle. Good to go.
Yep. Let's see what else can happen here. I think that's enough for the
I think so.
But there's a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, endless. Let me ask you this as kind of a final question. What is your most favorite? It could be unique. It could just be something that's cool, whatever. What is your favorite piece of Nintendo merchandise that you have?
For Zelda.
Oh, for Zelda. Yeah.
For Zelda. Ooh.
That's what I meant. It doesn't have to be from Nintendo. I think what I meant.
No. I know that. I'm looking at all of the stuff that I have here because I have so much Zelda stuff, and I'm gonna pull what. Let's see. What do I? It's funny. I think the piece that I really enjoy the most is one I haven't even opened.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It might be. I'm gonna go with this just because it's so different and cool.
Okay.
And I picked this up in Japan. It was Legend of Zelda Pocket Watch.
Is that the one that ended up getting stolen from me?
No, that was the Mario one.
Oh, that is a cool. I don't remember ever seeing that pocket watch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I've never opened it. But it's got that, it's got the symbol on it.
Yeah.
It says the Legend of Zelda Hyrule Kingdom on the front in English.
Legend of Zorda. What?
Zorda.
No, that's really cool.
I absolutely love this. And then just a couple of other cool things that I do have merch-wise. This figure here, because Nintendo put out a lot of figures, right? I was fortunate enough to work with somebody who used to work at who is it that makes this stuff? It's not Mattel. I'm going to say Jack's Pacific. So a friend of mine or somebody I worked with worked at Jack's Pacific during the Nintendo line, and he did a lot of it because he was a big Nintendo fan. So he would always give me stuff. This is the original. This is the actual figure prototype for Wind Waker Link.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's just he's not fully painted. It's just
that is awesome.
This is really awesome. I absolutely love this. It's just a random thing.
No, that's awesome.
But it's a great random thing. And then, I got a whole bunch of other stuff. Somebody gave me a gift for my birthday once, and it was a Pixel Zelda shield.
Oh,
which is really cool.
Yep.
A friend of mine gave me a piece of art of Wolf Link from Twilight Princess.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to work for the company who created the Zelda animated series from the 80s, which I have on DVD.
Excuse me.
Thank you,
Princess.
Deke Entertainment, for that.
Deke.
I have the whatchamacallit. I have the Zelda Zelda Monopoly game, the Wind Waker soundtrack from Japan.
Nice.
And then I also have the 30th anniversary Zelda game music collection.
Even nicer.
I'm a little concerned that I can't find my my anniversary, and you can see the booklet inside. It's really
very cool.
Yeah, with the original cover. But I can't. My whatchamacallit, my other thing that's missing, the concert that I went to, the orchestra. I gotta track that down. And then of course I got my books, the Hyrule Story and everything like that. The original NES game that you gave me. And other things.
Where's that other book?
Oh, the gold one. This baby.
Look at that.
God, it's got weight to it. This is a heavy
awesome.
book. And it comes with an instruction booklet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Encyclopedia instruction booklet, in case you need an instruction booklet for the encyclopedia.
Open book, read.
It's granulated too, so it actually has texture.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is really cool. And of course, the sleeve. So absolutely love all my Zelda stuff, which is really cool.
Good stuff.
All right, Larry. So now, I know we're going long here.
That's all right.
And you're probably going to split this into 2 episodes on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. But we did talk about it, so I kind of want to get to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do some Zelda trivia.
I got to reopen the page. Okay, there it is.
Yep, so here's how we're going to do this. Larry and I, we're going to answer the questions together. We'll see who's right and who's wrong.
Basically, the questions, if you want to play along, it's at playbuzz.com.
Yeah, if you go to playbuzz.com, you can find this. It's How Well Do You Know? Legend of Zelda.
And it was published on July 31st, 2015.
So it is a bit older, but I thought this one would work well because it gives you the instant answer if it's correct or wrong.
That's it. Yeah, we just click. So
yeah, we just click and find out if we're right or wrong. So let's alternate and we'll go off from here. So there are 18 questions. Maybe we'll get through them all. Maybe we'll get tired of it. In the first one, in the original Legend of Zelda for the NES, where do you get your first sword? There are 4 choices. We'll just say the ones that we think are correct.
Oh, okay.
So Larry, you go first.
Well, we spoke about this. The Old Man in the Cave.
I will also answer the Old Man in the Cave, and that is
Ding.
Correct.
Oh, look at that. The thing spins around.
And it spins around to show
that
it to
is
you.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let's move it on.
All right. Question number 2. Which classic Zelda game was released for the SNES, but was later ported to the Game Boy and DS? That would have to be A Link to the Past.
And I will also say A Link to the Past because that was the only SNES one.
There we go.
And it is correct.
That is correct.
Moving on.
Ooh. Finally, our first good question.
In Ocarina of Time, who is the sage of the Forest Temple?
You know what? For those listening, let's read off these 4 answers.
Darunia, Saria, Naboru, or Rauru?
Rauru. Forest. I'm going to say Naboru.
And I'm going to say Saria.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah, of course you were right.
Saria is correct.
Okay.
Right. I'm 3 for 3.
Question number 4. Which Legend of Zelda game is the twin to Oracle of Seasons? Which Legend of Zelda game is the twin to Oracle of Seasons?
Well, I got to go with
this earlier.
Oracle of Ages.
Correct.
There we go. All right. I'm ahead by 1.
Yes, you are.
All right. Some of these aren't that difficult, but other ones will be.
Yeah.
What is the name of Link's horse in Ocarina of Time? I said this earlier when my cat went flying out of my room.
I'm going to say Epona.
I will say Epona. And Epona is correct.
All right.
All right, moving on.
Question number 6. What is the name of the area which Link and Zelda live in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword? This Sky City, Sky Burrow, Sky Town, or Skyloft?
I haven't played this one.
No, neither have I. I'm going to guess Skyloft.
I think it's Skyloft as well.
Because the others just sound too on the nose.
Yes. Oh, that's correct.
Yep, they were correct. All right, cool.
I'm pretty sure I knew that, though. Like, I had heard it somewhere. Okay.
Ooh, I'm gonna try
Under which mountain do the race of Gorons live? Death Mountain, Skyloft Mountain, High Mountain, or Hyrule Mountain? What do you got, Larry?
I want to say Death Mountain. I'm going to say Death Mountain.
Okay. I am going to say Death Mountain. And
Death
it
Mountain
is.
It is.
Death Mountain.
Nice.
Cool. Moving on.
In Twilight Princess, who is the ancient hero who teaches you his techniques? Okay, I get it. This is interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know this.
Is it Link from A Link to the Past, Link from Skyward Sword, Link from Twilight Princess, or Link from Ocarina of Time? That is interesting. Who is the ancient hero? I'm going to guess Ocarina of Time.
That's going to be my guess, too. I can't think of any others that would work. So let's see.
1, 2, 3. Correct.
There we go.
That is pretty cool.
That is cool.
See, that's going to make me want to go and play that.
All right. This one's hard.
Boy.
Name all of the sages in order of appearance.
Oh my god.
So we'll just announce the ones we think they are because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 5 in a row. There are 6 in a row. It's
It's got to be one of the 6 ones.
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
All right, I'm gonna go with Spirit, Shadow, Water, Fire, Forest, Light.
I'm going to go with light, forest, fire, water, shadow, spirit.
That's actually sounding about right. All right, here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, of course.
I am correct. Forest, you know what it was? Forest, I knew Forest was early in the game. That's
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Number 10. Who is the main villain in most Legend of Zelda games? Is it... Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. It is Ganon.
It is Bowser.
Or Ganondorf. What is the name of the dark wizard who tries to resurrect Ganon in A Link to the Past?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'll say these. Aghanim, Midna, Ganondorf, Raoult.
I'm going to say Aghanim.
I'm going to say Aghanim as well, because it is Aghanim.
You defeat him with the bee catcher.
Yep. Yes, you do.
Question number 12. We'll go through all these. Why not? Yeah. Where is the Master Sword kept in most Zelda games? Hyrule Castle, Lake Hyla, the Temple of Time, or Death Mountain?
Well,
I'm going to say Death Mountain.
Oh, I'm going to go Temple of Time.
Masters in most Zelda games. Well, you know what? Temple of Time, that was like the 4th game since then. I'm sticking with Death Mountain.
All right. It is the Temple of Time.
Gosh darn it. I knew I should have know that one.
All right. In which Zelda game was Hyrule underneath an ocean due to a great flood? We've talked about this.
Yeah. This is...
That will be Wind Waker.
The weirdly looking Wind Waker.
Still a great game.
Meanwhile, they were showing a picture of Wind Waker when you got to the question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. Question number 14. Which of these is not another name for the Master Sword?
Ooh.
The Goddess Sword, the Triforce Sword, Blade of Evil's Bane, which is a much better name than Master Sword, or the Sword of Time. Which of these is not another name?
Ooh.
I'm going to say Goddess Sword.
I want to go Goddess Sword, but Blade of Evil's Bane sounds really weird.
It's very Diablo.
Right, and that's why I'm like, but why do I almost feel like I've heard that? You know what? I'm going to go Goddess Sword with you.
All right. 1, 2, 3. No,
it was not
the Triforce.
It is not called the Triforce Sword.
It is not called the Triforce Sword.
Interesting.
I was thinking that, but then I'm like, there's a Triforce on it, so maybe it was called.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was called the Triforce Sword.
Right. Also, remember this was in 2015, so anything happened to change.
All right, which Zelda game is the very first in the official timeline?
And this I know because I watched the direct.
Yeah, and that would be Skyward Sword, of course.
All right.
Onward.
Question number 16. The three deities who enshrined the power in the Triforce are... Ooh. No. Well, no. I'm going to go with Sheik, Saria, and Darunia.
I am going to go with Din, Naryu, and Furore.
You know, I saw Din. I'm starting to think Din now. Yeah, no. You know what? I'm going to go with Din.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
That is correct.
Yes, that is correct. I wasn't going because you said it. Because it just
you were. It's okay. Okay, what is Sheik's true identity?
This is why I switched at you, because then I remembered who Sheik was.
And?
Sheik is, well, it's either,
Mm-hmm.
What are the choices?
Impa, Noboru, Saria, Zelda.
I'm going to say Zelda.
Uh-huh.
Zelda it is.
Yes, it is. She
And
was a badass before we knew him.
That's true. And finally, in Twilight Princess, what is the name of Ganondorf's sword?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, the evil blade, the philosopher's blade, the sorcerer's blade, the warlock blade.
I'm gonna go with.
I'm gonna go with sorcerers.
I'm gonna go with sorcerer. Also, I wanted to go evil, but I'm gonna say sorcerer.
Yeah. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nope.
No,
it is warlock blade.
It was the warlock blade. Wow. All right, so I got 16 out of 18.
I got 13 out of 18.
All right. No surprise there.
Well, hey, listen, you know the series more better than I do.
That's very true. But again, that's still not a bad score.
Not at all. All right, folks. I think we told you everything we know about Zelda.
We definitely did not tell you everything that I know about Zelda. But enough. I think we covered enough Zelda to properly commemorate the 35th anniversary.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Zelda. And, you know, when the Direct happened this week, I think a lot of people were waiting for, like, what are they going to do for the 35th anniversary? Mm-hmm. Kind of like what they did for Mario. But then I thought, because they didn't announce anything, except for Skyward Sword. But then I thought to myself, they're probably not going to announce anything until the Mario celebration is over, the end of March. Yep. So I think if they do anything, and I don't know if they are, but if they're going to do anything like they did for Mario, we'll see that like in April or May, maybe even down the road a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
So, all right. So with that, folks, that's our special Zelda episode. And where can they find us? I'm sorry, I thought something was coming through my window.
That's okay. You guys can find us on Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast, at TheRetroGamers.com. You can find us on Instagram at RetroGamersPodcast, on Twitter at RetroGamersPod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube and IGTV.
Yes.
Just look for The Retro Gamers Podcast. And if you want to email us, you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com.
Please do. And I have a feeling you're going to like play Zelda or something now, or you're all...
No, I believe that. Well, I mean, I'm going to take a little breather from the episode, but I think it's going to be a Zelda-centric week for me.
Fair enough.
And maybe I'll actually stream some of it.
There you go. Hopefully. We will see. All right, folks. And with that, I think we will catch you all next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.